Hey guys, this is Jon
and Austin,
and we have another episode of the Meatgistics podcast for you. We've got quite a few things to eat, talk about, delve in a little bit deeper into some of these news stories. But first things first, we have changed the way we're recording these. We are now going to record them on Wednesdays going forward and release them on Fridays. So these news stories that we talk about will no longer be things that you're like, oh yeah, I vaguely remember hearing about that 3 weeks ago. So we'll be more up to date with everything. So that should, I assume that'll be better.
Yeah, I think it's going to turn out really good.
It's not like anything we can do would be that wrong.
No,
pretty much perfect. Okay, then on Meatgistics, we've created a new category. It is random. What this is you can go to Meatgistics at the top where we have all the icons like the map, the conversion chart. There are two arrows pointing opposite ways. Click on that and it'll open a whole new category for you where it's just going to randomly pick posts from all the other categories and display them to you. If you see something in there that seems interesting, obviously go ahead and click on it. If not, you can just hit your refresh button and it will grab completely new random ones. So go.
I feel like this is how your mind works, and this is how you came up with the idea, is that your mind is just one constant random reset over and over.
Fair enough. The problem with that, though, is like, I've talked about this a bunch. There's a portion of your brain that's responsible for like making you not think of things that you don't want to. Mine is overdeveloped, so it occasionally just grabs things and throws them into the dark pit. And I was like, oh no, I needed to remember that, but it's gone. There's no coming back from it. Some would call that brain damaged, but you know, potato.
Yeah, and maybe it'll, I don't know. Maybe there's some good in it.
I'm sure there is some good in it. Also, that's just a good way to like re-engage with some older posts. I talked about this a little bit. I'm sure occasionally something's going to come back up that we would prefer it stayed dead, but oh well, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
It's just part of that's. I saw somebody, I think it was Chef, talking about like, it might not have been Chef, like they go down rabbit holes. It wasn't Chef. It was Dr. Payne, Claude Tremblay. And I was thinking, how can we get them to spend even more of their life on Meatgistics? Random.
You know, I think I'm really going to enjoy it because I used a service back in the day called Stumble Upon, which was you clicked a button and it just took you to a random website.
Oh God!
That you could like read about, but you could like tell it what your interests were. Okay. So like Meatgistics, I mean, the interest is already there. Like it's all about meat, something. But to just be able to hit refresh and just get a new set of topic lists. I may find myself using it a lot when I'm bored.
Oh, I played around with it for about 45 minutes yesterday.
I think it's going to be fun.
Yeah, it is definitely cool. All right. Then the Spiceology stuff. Have you gotten a chance to use any of it so far?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Minus the one thing that I had got from Tex. The
Gaucho?
Gaucho.
Yeah. Obviously, feel free to take home any of the ones that are opened over there. There's one of each that's open. We took another one out for purposes of videotapes. Have you seen any of the quick little 30-second-ish videos we've made? Mm-mm. Oh, they're really good. They're really good.
Have you been putting them on Instagram? Or,
Yep. Okay. Instagram, Facebook, and they're living on the product page as well. Cool. We're working on something, the carousel underneath. They're looking at a way to actually make videos playable in there. So initially said they couldn't do it, but it looks like they have possibly a way. So we're working on that. So far out of all of them, we did ribeye with cowboy crust. That was really good. It did a great job getting the crust nice and noticeable. I've done a bunch of chicken and chicken and something else with the chili margarita. I've made numerous burritos with that. The candied bacon has gone on bacon that we dehydrated, which your brother said was perfect. He's like, that's my favorite thing you've made. And the rose or the pink peppercorn lemon thyme on whitefish was also awesome. Is that it, Patrick? No, the brisket bomb, we made hamburgers out of them. And they're some of my favorite hamburgers ever. And I didn't even make them. Jon made them. So
that's cool. Yeah. I mean, just right off the bat, the one that jumps out to me the most is the candied bacon.
Yeah.
That one That one looks really cool. And then just because it's a little bit different, the rosemary Dijon. I will probably have to make a few things with that. That one sounds really interesting.
We're going to try some lamb with that. But honestly, you didn't fool anybody there. We all know is the pink peppercorn that jumped out to you the most. Obviously.
Yeah. I'm trying to hide that from people. But
I get it. I get that feeling from you. All right. So this is Jerky. We're kind of combining two things here. Somebody reached out to me, told me about this company, yada, yada, decided to try a few different ones. So first, have one of these. We're going to see if you can take a guess at what it actually is.
Wait, did you buy these or make these?
Bought them.
Bought them. Okay.
So take a guess if you can guess the protein. And it's weird. It's not beef or pork. It's not bison. It's something I've never done before.
Is it mountain lion?
It is not mountain lion.
Dang it.
Don't you wish? No, nothing. You only get so much time on audio format to sit there and say nothing.
Oh, Patrick, doesn't he have like a little button he clicks that like takes away all the silence? And
so going forward, do you still do the take away silence? Oh, okay. Forget that.
I don't know. I mean, it feels like kind of a beef consistency and that type of texture. Mm-hmm. It feels like it's heavier, but also some of that may be just because it's so dried.
Yeah.
Because it reminds me of dried beef.
Okay, it's definitely not beef.
Is it some sort of big game? Is it like elk or something?
It is not.
Is it goat?
It is duck.
Really?
Yep.
That is strange because
that's what I thought.
It definitely seems like it would be a larger protein. And
it is, like, you can see the grain in it, kind of at least. And that, I mean, it's this long. That's a really long duck breast.
Yeah, it is.
Which raises the question, is this actually duck?
It's probably not.
Right?
I think you're yanking with me. You're feeding me like raccoon or something.
No. The coon meat is lousy with parasites. All right, try this one. The next one, you can have that piece. I'll take that piece.
Wait, so are each of these different proteins?
Mm-hmm. I can almost guarantee you've never eaten this before. Almost guarantee. They do not live in the wild in the U.S. It's Panda Bear.
The consistency's fairly similar. It's just, it's so hard because it's so dried.
This is a larger animal.
A water buffalo.
No.
Yeah.
I wonder what that would be like. Water buffalo was in the right area, though. Or at least there are water buffalo in the country that this is heavily associated with.
That doesn't help me because I don't know where that is.
It's a marsupial.
Are we eating gorilla or something?
Wait, what?
Sorry. Okay, yeah, I just realized that's wrong. You have to bear with me. So if you can't tell, like,
Alex Trebek would punch you in the face for that.
So my brain is not working. It has not worked for a few days. I have a really bad cold, and I'm taking so much medicine that my brain does not work. So I'm probably going to do this again in the podcast. I'm going to say something, a bunch of just different random vitamins and stuff. Plus Mucinex D, the pseudoephedrine in there, jacks with my head.
By far the worst. Is it the D or is it Mucinex D or DM?
DM isn't the controlled substance one. Mm-hmm. Like D is the one you have to get behind the counter and has the Sudafed in it. I think that's the one, at least for me, that
even worse.
Makes me crazy.
The DM makes me astronaut. I'm off this planet. So I can't even imagine what the controlled substance one. I hate that feeling. I take back my laughing at you. And I'm surprised you didn't just say do this one yourself or something.
Oh no.
You could not have me with Mucinex DM on a live podcast. You'd have no idea what I was going to say.
Like I feel pretty good. I have, I don't know. I feel like I still have a lot of energy. I don't feel like I'm sick. I don't feel that bad, minus just my head and my nose is like a constant burning factory of fire. But I don't necessarily like feel all that bad. But yet I feel bad. I don't know. It's hard to explain. I don't normally, if I'm like sick with something, I'm tired, I'm out of it. I feel great, but when I'm on the medicine, it jacks with my head.
And you're saying this is just a COVID-19?
No, it's not COVID.
Yes. All right. Any more guesses? Marsupial. Please guess something that's not a marsupial again.
Marsupials are the ones with like the pouches, yes. Right? Yes. I'm just trying to think of different ones. Is it like koala or kangaroo or something kangaroo. From Australia?
If we were eating koala,
you feel bad about that?
Koala, yeah, that would. Actually, have you ever seen a wet koala? Google wet koala. They are the ugliest things in the world. It's just their fur that makes them cute. All right, yeah. And then this one. Go ahead and try it. This one isn't an exotic.
So it was kangaroo?
Yeah.
Are they all the same seasoning?
I believe so, yes.
So this one definitely has a different meat flavor for sure.
But this one is the beef.
Oh, it is beef?
It's just beef. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Now, I would argue that's not really jerky. That's kippered beef. The only thing maybe not making it kippered beef is I can't tell if they smoked it or not. Not a strong smoke flavor.
I mean, it's still kind of jerky-esque, but to me, once you get bigger and it's dried to that consistency, I mean, I call it dried beef. Yeah. But dried beef is normally like a solid chunk that you then slice into pieces. So this is like a weird mixture of like jerky and dried beef.
Somewhere in between.
Yeah.
Kippered beef, the dragon's breath jerky that we brought in actually says it's a kippered beef. So we're going to do some stuff with that. I've started thawing out some of those eye of the rounds I had bought.
Yeah.
You can ask John. I took them out when I first got here. They were out like in a lug for about 8 hours. I then put them into the freezer overnight, and we were going to grind some of them today to test that new grinder system. And then I was going to cut the others up and use it for that kippered beef stuff. They're still frozen solid, man. Like solid. I lowered the temperature on that thing, and it still is just going like nuts.
Wait, so when you say you set them out for 8 hours, like they were
room
frozen
temperature for 8 hours. Huh. Then put them in the fridge overnight and tried to squeeze them, and there was no like you could tell the very outside of it had started to thaw, but there was no give.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was insane, absolutely insane. Okay, all right. So that's the snack stick, or that's the beef. Let's go on to snack sticks. So we have 3 different snack sticks up here. Okay, one is pork, and that is that one. And then these 2 are both beef. The one with the cheddar cheese is a little different than the one without the cheddar cheese. Didn't I just bring in ones with... This is going to drive me nuts. This is what happens with... Somebody have cheddar cheese. I demand it. See, I put in a small... Okay, so taste that, and then we'll taste that one. It's pepper stick unit. It's got encapsulated citric acid, and it's beef. Mm-hmm. No pork fat added. Okay, so keep that that palate appeal in mind. Keep the overall taste in mind, and then try this. Instant reaction.
Laughing as I watch you die and choke on set.
That's fair.
So what is the second one?
Still pepper stick unit. Still beef.
Am I supposed to guess what you did different?
There's something different in there. Any guesses? Like, what do you notice something instantly that's different?
Maybe a softer texture.
Garlic.
Really?
I added garlic to that one. And it does do something to the beef and makes it more, like the first time I bit into it, I was like, that is way closer to pork than the first one. So, for those who don't know, we had a guy on the podcast from Strick's Meat Market at AMP, and he was saying that they will add a few percentage points of garlic to any beef sausage they make, and something in the garlic interacts with the beef fat and makes it more similar to pork fat. I listened back, and he didn't say, like, he said percentages. He didn't say percentages of the, like a percent of the weight of the product. So like 100 pounds of jerky, add 1 pound of garlic. He did say, though, it doesn't matter if you use fresh or like just garlic powder. I went and got some fresh garlic, minced it up really fine. And for a 10-pound batch, I added 3 cloves of garlic. Now, I know that's variable. Some cloves are bigger than others, but that seems to be a pretty good ratio.
Yeah.
Because it's better.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Sure. Nope.
Yeah, it definitely feels like there's a texture difference to it.
And then these are just pepperoni stick because I love them. When these came out of the smoker, Andy thought the casing was like way too tough of a bite. I put them in the cooler for a couple minutes. It's almost like the casing rehydrated.
Mm-hmm. It'll do that. Yeah.
I wish I had come and gotten you, because it was like, it was significant. Like the pop, the pop to the casing was like, snap. Oh. Yeah, now they're fairly perfect.
It's not bad. I mean, I like a tougher casing. I don't like it when the casing just kind of
is nothing,
melds into the meat.
That's what was happening. That was the worst thing about when we were adding Cheetos or cheese puffs to the what is that nacho cheese flavor one? Mm-hmm. The casing was just not there. It was like you bite into it, and you're like, that's just meat. That feels weird. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I like a little bit of a resistance.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have anything more you want to talk about on this?
I don't know. So the last one, there's pork, though.
Pepperoni.
Yeah. It's just definitely more creamier overall.
It's, adding some garlic's not going to get it up to that same level. It's just going to help a little bit. And I'm very pleased that you noticed that right away. Do you want...
Yeah, you had me nervous because I'm like, what am I supposed to tell here?
I just sent Austin an email earlier today saying, don't eat too much. We have a lot to taste test. Do you want to talk about that at all?
We can. Okay. Yeah, I'm fine with that.
So before we go on to stories, one of the things that we've been working on, mostly at your guys' requests for a long time, is some sort of electric sausage stuffer. We started working with a manufacturer who very responsive to our requests, very willing to change things up as long as we paid for the molds. I mean, it's not like they were doing it for free. So we have a decent amount of money sank into this already. Mm-hmm. But they sent us an electric motor and a different sausage stuffer. Initial results were really good. We made pork snack sticks, and we're just like, this is amazing. It would trip the circuit breaker. It's got an onboard circuit breaker to protect the motor, but it would trip if you try to go a little bit too fast. And I don't want to say we were prepared to deal with that, but we were coming up with ways where, like, on the motor itself, we could put lines saying like max snack stick size or something like that. Because on the larger things, it doesn't matter. You can go as fast as you want.
Yeah.
But we were talking to the manufacturer. We took a bunch of videos, sent them to them. They sent us things. And oddly, it was Patrick who I showed him. I'm like, that's a single grind that they were using. I'm like, that's only ground once. And I hadn't thought about this, but he's like, yeah, they don't have any protein extraction. Mm-hmm. Like, it's so much easier to stuff. I was like, oh, why didn't I realize that? Like, I understood the grind, but I didn't even think about the fact. So anyways, they changed things up, and then they shipped us over a circuit breaker that's a little bit higher rated. Instead of 1.5, it's 1.75. I switched it out because I'm like Iron Man, basically mechanical genius. Got it switched out. Made some snack sticks today. Had it going at max speed, and you just on beef, not on pork, on beef, and you can't keep up with it. Like, that is the max speed on that is too fast to stuff. I did have a blowout on casings one time, I think because of it. But in general, there's little difference between just over a half and full, and there's no reason to go for full. Like, just a half will be fine for everybody doing it at home. Yeah. And I'm super pleased with it. I'm basically prepared to give it my stamp. Yeah. And say we're good to go.
I'm excited because, I say we, meaning mostly you, I've spent a lot of time testing and going back and forth and testing again. Yep. And I'm excited to get it in, get some out there, have people use them because we had an electric stuffer in the past, but it wasn't able to do snack sticks, and so that's what drove us to find something else and different. Mm-hmm. And where this one's at, I'm excited because I think it's going to be better than anything else. One, that we've ever had, or two, that I've seen out there on the market. For what we can hopefully hit on a price point, I mean, it's going to be a no-brainer if you're making any quantity of sausage, particularly snack sticks and brats. So.
Now, still very much a retail item. I don't want to see this in a commercial kitchen. If you're doing a commercial kitchen, you need a hydraulic stuffer. You need a vacuum stuffer. It's going to be for retail use only, as is all of the Walton's branded equipment stuff.
Either that, if it was used commercial, it would need to be like a meat market in deli that's doing 25 pounds a day. Like, not a lot. Like, you're not going to run 500 pounds of sausage through one of these things. No. If you do, you are going to blow that thing up so fast because that's how much sausage a retail guy does in a year, not every day.
Yep. I'll be interested to see if OPSU, I think he was telling me they have a hydraulic though. Oklahoma Panhandle State University.
I would bet they have a vacuum stuffer. I might be wrong. But.
He says, well, I was going to say vacuum stuffer, but I thought that was a little excessive. But whatever, that might have been what he said. He said he loves the 50-pound mixer, and the 600-pound scale, he says, works for him perfectly, which is great because little behind the scenes, little whatever they call it, behind the scenes baseball? No, what do you call it? Inside baseball. That was the one product that we didn't get ahead of time. Like, when we got that, we got it. And the very first one I took out of the box did not work. I put a 5-pound weight on it and it said 0.5. I'm like, no, well, obviously that's not correct. So I found that it's got like the 150 and the 300 mode. So I switched it to 150, and everything it did was off by over a half a pound. Like, I went and got our scale certification weights, and it was still saying it was off by a half a pound. I'm like, that's not okay at 5 pounds. But I took another one out of the box. It was fine. So when I knew he wanted one, I sent him one. I'm like, the only strings attached to this is you have to let me know a single problem that you have with it. And so while you were gone, they were up in Kansas City doing something. So he came through with 2 of his students. The girl from the podcast wasn't there. There's a new girl, but the kid who's there, Travis or Taylor or something. So I gave him the whole grand tour. And I love giving the grand tour of this place. Yeah. I was at the grocery store last week. I'm walking, grabbing something. Someone goes, John? I turn around, I'm like, yeah. And he's like, oh, hey. He's like, I listened to your podcast. I was like, what? I'm like, that's awesome. So we got to talk, and he's like, hey, I sent you an email a couple months ago about some guys locally who would be really good hunting podcast story guys. And I was like, seriously, I don't remember. I'm like, please send it again or whatever. And then we got to talking about Dow Strong. And he had a knife that I now have. I'll show you something after. But I told him to come on in. We'd sharpen it. And he was kind of laughing about that. But he's like, yeah, whatever. So he came in. I still have the Dow Strong, so we'll talk about what that is. I gave him the whole tour, and he gave me the names of the guy who owns Michael Murphy's, or he's in the family that owns Michael Murphy's, and another guy who's gone like literally everywhere and done hunting. So I'm going to try and get one or both of those guys on the podcast, because hunting stories, I'm sure our audience would love. But now I think it's 3-2.
Yeah.
Times we've been.
I was hoping you didn't bring that up because
yes.
I don't. It's been a while. I don't remember. I don't know. But John and I like to keep track of how many times we get noticed out in public and who's ahead.
So it is still only 3-2. So not very often.
I don't know. I don't know where we left off.
Yeah, it's somewhere in that range.
Yeah.
It's not.
We don't get noticed every day.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else you want to talk about before we go to Meat Matters?
Nope. Let's hop right in.
All right. First story. Labor shortages are making pork shortages worse. Here's a quote. It is notable that the spread in the spring of 2021 does not appear to return to pre-COVID levels. This is likely due to lower available hog numbers and continued COVID-related impacts on the labor availability of employees, the ERS said. People aren't wanting to go back to work. And what this was mainly driving at was the difference between bone-in and bone-out products. The price of bone-out is far exceeding the price of bone-in. Like the difference in that has gone up. I think it said 26%.
Wow.
So because people don't want to work, I have to bone out my own pork butts like some sort of peasant. It's ridiculous. I don't do that.
It is annoying. I hate having to bone out pork butts.
Occasionally where I like locally get them from, I'll just in the mix. There'll be one or two that are like bone out, and I feel like I won something. Yes. Don't have to bone those ones out.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I feel that way either, because I love playing with knives, and it takes like 3 minutes, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like it's that long. It's just normally if I'm buying pork butts, I mean, I'm buying more than like one or two.
Yeah.
And so then I end up spending like 20, 30 minutes doing everything. But
fair enough. Real quick, remind me to talk to you about the pork butts you did here at the end of this. We'll get that on here. Come
on the show.
Yeah.
Okay.
My little side note on this one says vegetables, they kill. So 111 tons of pre-made salad was recalled due to anchovies in the salad dressing. So the reason they're having to recall that, anchovies are an allergen, because it said it was recalled due to an allergen. So anchovies must be an allergen. Is fish an allergen? I know shellfish are, but I didn't know that people could be. Any idea? Yeah, Patrick? Patrick seems to be nodding yes. I did not know that people were allergic to fish.
Yeah, I didn't know fish. I knew like
shellfish for sure. It's the iodine in it.
Hold on.
It's the only good scene from the Nutty Professor. No, Dr. Dolittle is the girl who just keeps eating shellfish even though it's making her terribly ill.
Oh yeah, fish is. I thought it was just shellfish.
Interesting.
I should know that.
I wonder if it's the iodine in that as well.
Maybe.
But yeah, so 111 tons recalled because of anchovies in the salad dressing. Last point on that is I understand that Caesar sometimes has anchovies in it, but just stop doing it. Nobody likes anchovies.
Yeah, why? I mean, why were anchovies anywhere near or close to?
Because a classic Caesar salad dressing has anchovies in it.
And that's just horrible in my opinion.
100% agree with you.
Like I don't know why you do that. I think we should start a revolution and all food should change according to your and my preference.
Okay.
We'll just sit here on the Meatgistics podcast and dictate to everyone else how they do food stuff.
No. All right, then. So we're not going to read this article because it goes into a lot of political nonsense. But there was an article from the Atlantic talking about beef prices on the rise, and if that's not gotten under control, how that can hurt a political party. The really important thing in this, though, is something that we've talked about in the past. ranchers right now are saying that they're not getting enough money for their cattle to even pay for what it costs to feed and raise them. So again, why are beef prices up again? This is, again, how many times have we seen the big four brought up on price fixing?
Yeah.
Like, clearly they're at it again. I don't love government intervention into the free market, obviously, but they might need to just be broken up at this point.
Well, I mean, there's already so much government intervention in it. I mean, you've got the USDA.
USDA is not dealing with this type of problem, though.
Yes, I know, but it all comes full circle. The meat industry itself is so heavily regulated that everything. Excuse me.
Take a second. Yeah, I get what you're saying. But just removing the USDA inspectors isn't going to drop the price of beef that much. It is these. I can't say that. I am guessing that these four are conspiring together again to set prices. That's why they're making way more money than the rancher.
Yeah, some of it could just be what rancher you're buying from, because if one rancher's losing money on it, maybe somebody else, they can do things in a way where they are making money. So the market is driving it at this price, and those that aren't being able to meet that price, they're going to have to find a way to get better.
No. And I need my tinfoil hat for this one. Ted Turner and Bill Gates are now the two largest landowners in the country. A lot of that is ranching land, and they are doing all of this so that they'll put the ranchers out of business, and then they can take it's back to the 1800s with the ranch wars out in the Nevada, places like that.
Lincoln County.
I can't wait. I do very badly want to get a hunting rifle with, oh my God, I can't think of the word. This has happened an annoying number of times recently. Come on, Austin. Come on.
A lever action?
Lever, God. That would fit right in for what's coming. The ranch wars. Obviously, I'm joking there. Yeah. I mean, there could be non-sinister reasons behind it, but I just don't see why beef prices continue to rise as much as they are, and ranchers are saying they're not getting what the animal is, even what they've put into it.
Yeah.
Those two things I understand, supply and demand. I understand increased production costs with slaughter, with breaking them down because of the new COVID rules, but something stinks in Denmark. All right. Another one, just because I kind of found it funny. Apparently, Jamaicans love oxtails.
That's really weird.
I had never heard this before. I know you can like braise an oxtail and get some really good meat off of it, but prices in New York City have gone up from $9 to $19, more than doubled.
That's crazy.
There is a restaurant owner in New York City who's trying to organize all of the Jamaican shops to 2 weeks buy zero oxtail, just buy none of it, and try to help deflate the market for it. I think that's a great idea. And I think that's the type of thing it's going to take to drive the the price changes that we want to see.
Yeah. I mean, that would just go back to supply and demand. I mean, if you lower the demand, you lower the price.
Yep.
So,
I mean, you're artificially doing it. So, and I don't know if 2 weeks is long enough, but I don't know. Maybe that's the way forward. This article made me really, really happy. Mostly from an old Family Guy thing where Stewie came back from another dimension, where he's got the huge muscled pig that had the fists. And instead of oinking, it says oink. But double muscled pigs and cows. So selective breeding has caused a genetic mutation where it lacks a certain protein that kind of regulates muscle growth. So first of all, I want to sign up for that. I would like to have that problem. Second of all, it's Belgian Blue is the name of the type of cattle that this is common in. And it does have all sorts of health problems based on it. They're so big that they're almost always have to be born by C-section. And sometimes the calves will have a very much enlarged tongue, which will make it hard for them to suckle on. But, I mean, it's something that occurs in nature. But now they're going in, and I've got a quote here. Where is it? Okay, so the teams bypassed the natural method and created a bulked up pigs by tinkering with the myostatin gene. Now it says, I'm sure nothing could go wrong here. I, for one, welcome our new bovine and swine overlords. No word on what the meat tastes like, though.
They look creepy.
They look awesome.
Like when I first pulled it up, I'm like, did we start bodybuilding with awesome cows and pigs?
See, I really like that. I think it's like when I used to think of Paul Bunyan and Old Blue, that's what I thought like blue would look like. Oh, it's even a Belgian Blue.
Yeah.
So maybe that is what it's based off of. My
biggest concern is that you're going to run into an issue because with these things look like they have 0% body fat. So what are you going to do when you make sausage? Yep. Like you need fat, especially on a pig. You're not going to have a bacon on the thing. It's going to be a 90% lean bacon.
Yeah, not even for sausage, for steaks. I don't want to eat a 90% lean ribeye.
Yeah,
I want some fat. I want a nice fat cap on the spinalis. But super interesting, really, really cool to look at.
We'll have to post a picture of this. Like maybe you use like the picture as like the thumbnail for the video
YouTube
podcast.
Video. Yeah, we can do that.
It's just creepy looking.
Now they say part of the reason that they were doing it is so that we can get more meat per animal.
Mm-hmm.
And I would love to be in some of these meetings, like behind the scenes, and see exactly how worried everyone is about the supply chain. Because, and we've got another story to come back to after this, but you and I were talking to Tex. He sent us something from Costco where they don't have Gatorade because they can't get the plastic bottle. Gatorade can't get the plastic to make the bottles to package it.
That really surprised me on one hand, but on the other hand, I saw it coming. I'm just actually like surprised I was right.
But it happens so rarely.
Like I've been seeing things last couple months that I'm like, something's going on with plastics. Like there's been a few things that have been hard to get. Some different prices have been going up, and I'm like, I don't know, that's weird. But then some more prices went up. I didn't know there was actually technically really a shortage. Yeah. So that's interesting that we heard that from Tex about Gatorade stuff, because plastic scares me because so many things have plastic in them, and so many things you buy from the store you take home in a plastic container or a plastic bag, plastic this, plastic that. Plastic is everywhere. But
I need my tinfoil hat again. But we talked about it on this podcast like 5 or 6 months ago. Somebody created a bacteria that goes ahead and eats plastic. So that bacteria, I said, that's awesome. Great idea, until it gets loose and all of a sudden things just start falling apart because the bacteria ate all the plastic. Dun, dun, dun.
Oh, it couldn't be that bad. We have termites. Dun, dun, dun. They eat wood, and you don't see buildings falling down everywhere.
A bacteria, we've done this before too. Under optimal conditions, Austin, a single bacteria can become over 2 million in the course of 8 hours. Termites can't do that.
Or can they?
Oh, nice.
No, I don't think they can. So yeah, that's a good point.
Tinfoil hat off. Last one. Nope, sorry, 2 ones from now. Japan's Osaka University 3D printed some Wagyu beef. It is $200 a pound, so perfectly reasonable price. But the material to 3D print it are from cell fibers from a cow, which they are extracting from stem cells. So here is a quote from the lead researcher at Japan's Osaka University. By isolating beef cells... Oh, this is a quote from the author of this article. By isolating beef cells, the scientists organized how the muscles, blood vessels, and fat should be stacked. The researchers then shaped these tissues into the form of a steak using a technique called 3D bioprinting, where cell structures can be layered to resemble real tissue in living things. And I watched the video of them doing this, and it is really, really cool. It is like a 3D printer with a needle, and it goes through, goes down into it, back up, down into it, back up, down into it. So it's going down. It's like just like a 3D printer. It's inserting what type of cell should be right there, and then the next one, the next one, the next one. So while you were gallivanting off and we were all working ourselves to the bone here, Patrick and I started talking about the ethical conundrums with lab-grown meat. And I don't have one. I do not have an ethical argument against it. The same thing here. I do not have an ethical argument against 3D printing beef. That led us to the conversation of, at what point would you be willing to switch from regular beef to cell-grown beef? If there was literally no difference, and when I say no difference, I mean in price, taste, texture, and they both had the exact same environmental cost associated with them.
It would have to be better than the original because of the creepiness factor.
Okay.
Because on one hand, I think it's really cool. On the other hand, kind of creeps me out a little bit. So I don't know. Part of me also is just hesitant because I'm like, okay, if they made this in a lab, what is it going to do to me once it's inside my body? So assuming it was 100% safe,
sure.
I think it would have to be more economical than traditional meat for me to make a switch.
That's what I said as well. And again, I have no ethical problems with this. To switch, it has to offer an advantage in one of those 4 categories. If it's nothing, I'm just going to keep doing what I've been doing.
Yeah, same here. Plus, also, I mean, from my perspective, there, I want to keep doing what we're doing because if we went to all lab grown meat, there's a really good chance that you and I won't have a job.
Sure. Yeah.
Because the meat packing industry will flip on its head and completely change. Because who's to say that you need 70% of what goes on inside of a meat packing plant? Yep. Because there's not going to be any
slaughter, no trim.
You may not even have to grind. What if you just print it into ground beef already? Why would you have to? I mean, you would in theory be able to skip so many steps that forget everything there. You're just gonna 3D print a sausage.
Yep.
At that point, the only one that has a job is a scientist somewhere.
And that's a good point against, even if they were equal in all those things, I would still want to support the farmer or the rancher. Yeah. Or the rancher. Great raising the cow. So that's a good point. Now, on to that. We've talked about this a little bit in recent podcasts as far as the demand goes for fake meat that lies about being meat. That demand has at best leveled off and probably more realistically is starting to decline. I've said I think it's because of over-promising and under-delivering. They said, oh, it's just like meat, tastes just like meat. It doesn't. That's a lie. And this is, again, coming from somebody who, my wife loves those Morningstar Garden crumbles, and I use them all the time. So, no problems there. But here's an article from Joe Fassler. It was just released a couple of days ago. And it says, lab-grown meat is supposed to be inevitable. The science tells a different story. So, for a while, especially in the meat industry, this was so much the next big thing that everybody was just giving out the glowing reviews of it. Oh, it's just as good. It's going to be, the future of this industry. Imagine something with no slaughter. But it is starting to come back down to earth a little bit. People are realizing that just like we've talked about it before, the Tesla cars, it's quote unquote better for the environment until you look into the costs that the environmental costs that go into mining the materials for the batteries, you're way better off. I'm way better off driving my Toyota Tundra for the next 10 more years, which I fully plan on doing. I just had to drop $1,000 into it. That sucked. Like 2002, 280,000 miles on it. And I 100% would have gotten rid of it, but the market for used trucks is still so ridiculous. And one of the mechanics up there, and you've seen what kind of condition that truck is in, is like, oh, you'd still get 5,000 for that and trade in, no problem. Mm-hmm. But anyways, so hopefully I'll have it for another 10 years.
Shouldn't look at it so bad. I mean, it's something you use every day.
Yeah. Whatever. Like, it hurt just because I'm like, this, like putting more money into this, which is like a dead end at this point. Like I'm not really planning on killing that or keeping that for another 10 years. So whatever. All right, let's talk about your pork butts. And more importantly, I want to get your thoughts on how the Grill Eye Max performed.
Well, I don't know if I ever told you, which by the way, I assume
the one that's here is that one.
Is it still? I never brought the smoker back in.
You did not.
Is it still out on the patio?
It is not.
Okay, good. So thank you for bringing that back in. But
so just a quick story on that. Josh, our new retail store manager, I was in here doing something and he walked by. It was first thing for him in the morning. He came in. He's like, "Hey, he's like, I gotta let you know, I might have tossed you under the bus." He's like, "I couldn't figure out why the alarm wasn't going." And I was like, "Yeah, don't worry about it. He did it the day before, so I'm not too concerned." But all right, go ahead.
So I had a problem with the smoker. Not necessarily a problem with the smoker. I had a problem with my smoke cycle.
Okay.
I don't even remember how long I cooked those things. I had them on for probably 15 hours.
Ooh.
And they were still at only like 160. So I pulled a Tremblay out of my hat and took them out and sous vide them.
There you go. What'd you sous vide them in?
Actually, I still have your sous vide at home too.
Oh, so you took them home?
Yeah.
Okay. I was gonna say you did an excellent job cleaning up. I didn't see anything.
I took a meat lug, took the big sous vide, and I had 4 pork butts. At
least.
I filled up the meat lug. Tried to get the temp up to over 200 degrees. It would only get up to like 198, which was
it's fine.
Which is okay. I have a second sous vide at home. I thought I would hook that one up, but it was close enough, and I put like plastic wrap over it to hold all the heat and moisture in. Yeah. But then I didn't get cooked. Wow, I can't talk. Brain thing, like I said earlier. I didn't get. God.
He's not going to be able to get it out.
I didn't get done cooking until probably like 3:30 in the morning. At least then. And then I had to pull it all, package it all, threw it in the freezer because we were going to eat lunch at noon that next day, but I don't want it to sit out for 9 hours and just in the fridge for 9 hours. It would probably not get cold enough. Yeah. So throw it in the freezer. I sleep for 2-3 hours. I wake up as soon as stuff starts getting a little crusty. Then I throw it in the fridge. I'm like, okay, we're good and we're cold enough. And then to heat it back up, I couldn't figure out how I was going to heat it up. I didn't have anything that was going to work that was big enough sous vide wise, minus the meat lug, which for some different reasons I couldn't take the meat lug with me. So I ended up reheating them like an hour before we left in another sous vide bath. Pulled pork is all just in vacuum bags, and put the sous vide in a cooler. Okay. So I got it up to about 160 degrees in there, and then close the lid. Have one of the super fancy whatever coolers. So when I got there, opened it up, it was still just as hot as when I had closed the lid. Nice. So that is like my new hack and trick. Anytime I'm going to have to prepare food for something, I'm going to put it in vac bags, sous vide it at whatever temperature I want to serve it at. Throw it in a cooler, close it off, and then it'll stay like that for hours.
Right. obviously, you know, that's not like an unknown hack.
No, I didn't know about it.
Oh, okay. That's what people do with their briskets all the time.
Yeah, I had no idea. But now that I did it once, I'm doing that
Doing
every
it
time.
always. Yep. Well, good job finding that out for yourself. Seasonings you used?
The butter flavored roast beef pump. I basically inject as much of that in as I can. I always mix one bag with 1 quart of water, and in theory, that does 1 pork butt.
Okay.
It technically could do more. I just don't like measuring, so that's been my unofficial measuring stick.
Wait. 1 bag of that seasoning with 1 quart of water goes into 1 pork butt or 4?
1.
So you used 4 bags of the butter flavored roast beef pump on those 4?
Yep, 4 of those with 4 gallons of, 4 of those with 1 gallon of water, and you pump it. I still had a third of a gallon left, but I pump it with as much water and seasoning as I can possible.
That's ridiculous. Those bags are meant to do a lot more than that.
For a 10% pump, and they're...
you should have easily been able to do all 4 of them off of a single one. It's mixed, whatever that is, with 1 gallon of water for a 10% pump. That should have easily taken all 4. You 4 time over seasoned it. And then what'd you do to the outside of it?
Then you put more seasoning on it, of course.
How much seasoning?
Probably not enough, but I got the job done. I used 1 shaker per pork butt, smokehouse barbecue rub. And then when I got done with that, because sometimes you have to do this, sometimes the pork butts, they need a little bit more. So I went and got 2-3 more shakers. And so I ended up using about 1.5 shakers per pork butt.
Oh, God.
It was so good, though. Everyone said it was the best pork butt and pulled pork they've ever had.
Yeah, because it had enough sodium to carry them for a week.
It's okay. It's okay if someone gets heart disease in 5 years, but it's all about the here and now and how the food tastes.
Sure, great. All right, Grill Eye Max. How did it perform?
Good. That was really nice and really handy, especially since my cooking was not going according to plan and slow. I was sitting at home, just watching, keeping track of it.
My problem with the other Grill Eye, the Pro, was that firmware update destroyed its ability to do remote, but it works perfectly.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah.
I will. I don't remember where I left it. If I left it here or at home.
It's here. We've used it.
Okay. Yeah, I will have one of those at home.
Yeah.
I will. I use 2 meters right now. I like the meters, but I don't know. We'll see. Maybe the Grill Eye Max will be, maybe it'll be better. Maybe it won't. Right now in my head, I've only used it once. I'm saying it's going to be better. Minus the cables. I don't like dealing with cables, but I can deal with it. Half the time, my meters, I have to replace the stupid batteries on them. I don't know why. I swear I turn them off. I'm probably not. It's probably a user error.
Yeah.
But I just hate that every time I go to cook. I'm like, dang it, where's another stupid AAA battery? And then I got to wait to charge it.
See, I haven't had that problem.
Really?
Did you notice that the Iris probe is faster?
Didn't really pay attention
because you were stepping it up.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wasn't trying to get a quick read on anything. I mean, when I first put the thermometer probes in there, I didn't really care for the next 4 hours.
Yep. They do seem to be fairly fast. They say 2 seconds. Seemed to be a little bit longer than that, but it was pretty fast. So definitely like that product. Now, last thing, did you see my email about the Grill Eye Max from earlier today? Yeah. It is on the website, but it has no price on it. And I can't figure out why that is.
Yeah, I never went back and looked.
I can't figure out if it's a failure to feed from Sage to Oro or what.
I don't know.
I'm sure just riveting stuff for the podcast.
Have people been buying them and getting them for free? Did we check?
No. I will check.
Because if they're at 0, someone probably bought one.
I don't think it says 0. I just think it says no price
Oh.
And there's no price list. Like when you go to the Oro, no price list. All right. We'll look at it after this.
Interesting.
After this. All right, guys. If you're on YouTube, whatever, like, comment, subscribe, or don't. We're not your bosses. And leave a 5-star review if you're listening through some podcast thing. Patrick, you are required to like, comment, and subscribe because I am your boss. All right.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Thanks for checking out the Meatgistics podcast. To shop everything but the meat, head on over to waltonsinc.com. And to get your meat processing questions answered by experts and enthusiasts alike, head on over to our online community at meatgistics.com. Walton's, everything but the meat.